I think there's only one way to understand what happened in Minnesota this morning, and that's that Trump regime enforcers beat and shot to death a healthcare worker in the street for nothing. He did nothing wrong. Alex Preddy did absolutely nothing wrong. And for that, a gang of out of control paramilitary beat him, pistol whipped him, and shot him to death. Now, I'm not going to show you the videos right now. It was filmed from multiple camera angles, and you can go find those online. They are deeply traumatic. I understand why it's important for some people to watch that footage, and I do understand that it's important to have it circulated widely. It's crucially important that all of us document everything. We have to create an evidence trail. We have to create documentation, not only so that we can counter the lies of the regime. After all, Greg Runt-Bavino and Kristi Noem tried to say that Alex was the aggressor here, that Alex did something wrong, and we have documentary proof from multiple angles that that is an outright lie. We know that the regime are liars. We know that everything they say is a lie. They are utilizing the Joseph Goebbels School of Propaganda, the Third Reich Ministry of Propaganda handbook, where you lie some more. You double down, you triple down on your lie. If somebody questions you on your lie, you don't give in, you don't back up, you continue to lie. You play Darvo. You reverse victim and offender. You are the one violating, brutalizing, murdering innocent people, but you try to claim that they are violent, that they are the aggressors. This is a very classic fascist technique. It's so crucial that we document what is happening so that we can counter those lies and those narratives right now in the moment, because the public needs to know the truth of what's happening, but it's also crucially important for the time to come. For the time when we get justice, there has to be justice for Renee Good and for Alex today and for everybody else who has been shot, beaten, brutalized, murdered by ICE. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. Where are the investigations for that? Where is the justice for those folks? Documentation is so important. Anyway, before I get on a tangent about that, because I do want to talk about it more later today, I understand why it's important for some people not to watch that footage. Victims of gun violence, victims of narcissistic abusers, they may not need to watch that. You can read the description of what happened to Alex and not have to watch that and to hear the gunshots and to see what happened. We are all being traumatized on a daily basis, and victims of gun violence and victims of abusers are being re-traumatized every day because Donald Trump is your narcissistic boyfriend. He is absolutely a narcissistic abuser, and it is incredibly triggering for anybody who has gotten free of a relationship like that. This is why I always encourage folks, if you are showing video, documentary evidence of brutal killings by the American Gestapo, I really encourage you to put a buffer at the front of your video, put big warnings, because what may prompt you to act, what may activate you to rise up and resist, can absolutely shut somebody else down. And we have to engage in community care. We have to focus on making sure that we care for each other, that we keep each other safe. And so it's just like a small courtesy that you can do. I stayed off of Instagram for much of the day because I would try and scroll and it would take you immediately to a clip that was just like showing, right, it was showing everything. But you see, what happened in Minnesota today is something that the victims of narcissistic abuse know quite well. We know it very, very intimately. This is what it looks like when you are in that period where you are working to get free of your abuser, where he can sense that his grasp on power is loosening. He does not have the same level of control over you. It is all starting to fall apart for him, and he goes into a fit of narcissistic rage. He panics, he freaks out. The only thing he knows is control, coercion, abuse, violence. And so when he sees you moving away, when he sees you taking steps to get free, he escalates that violence in a desperate last gasp to get you to submit, to scare you into submission. What we are experiencing in 2026 America is that extinction burst behavior, because we have a narcissist, multiple narcissists running this country. So they're going to use that very predictable playbook. They don't understand, and the only tactics that they know how to employ are threats, intimidation, and violence. And when they don't get their way, all they know to do is more of the same. It's more and more, it's escalating more and more in a desperate attempt to get you to give up and to just let them have this country, to just let them have the Constitution, your rights, to have total control over you. And the more that we resist, the more they start freaking the fuck out, and the more they keep cranking up the violence, because they think there is going to be a threshold at which they can scare us all into giving up, where we are freaked out enough that we will just hand over the future of this country. And they're dead fucking wrong. They are dead wrong. Stephen Miller and Donald Trump have miscalculated gravely when it comes to Minnesota, but overall, they have miscalculated when it comes to the American people. So what's happening in Minnesota is obviously partially because Donald Trump always wants petty revenge against his political adversaries, against anybody who he sees as having slighted him. And so, of course, he's going to go for Minnesota because Tim Walz. Stephen Miller was going to go for Minnesota because he's a ferrety little Nazi shitbag and he hates Somalis. So he thought, okay, we can target these folks, and they're black, they're from Africa. Again, 95% of Somali immigrants in Minnesota are American citizens. These are Americans. He thought, okay, I can send in my ICE goons and everybody will be fine with this because it's not white people. And I can advance my white supremacist Holocaust a little bit more in the United States. Again, wild coming from somebody who is descended from Russian Jews. Somebody else can unpack all of that. So they thought that that was going to be successful, not to mention the Republicans in Minnesota, Minnesota state Republicans. They called in Nick Shirley. They are complicit in this. What is happening in Minnesota right now is on the shoulders of Minnesota Republicans. They invited all of this. They stoked all of this animosity, all of this hate, all of this violence. I hope, Minnesotans, that you're aware of that. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. I didn't mean to lecture you. Y'all know what's up. So Minnesotans didn't take any of the bait of ICE sweeping in. They wanted riots in the streets. They looked at the George Floyd protests, understanding that a white supremacist sparked the riots in Minnesota. That was an agent provocateur. But they thought, okay, we'll go in here and we're going to get riots. And we're then going to be able to declare the Insurrection Act. Or, as I said, right after Renee Good was shot, and especially when we saw ICE busting in the doors to people's homes, that what they want is an ICE agent to get murdered. I don't have any evidence of that, but come on, y'all. Stephen Miller wants to sacrifice an ICE agent or 2 or 3. He wants somebody in Minnesota to shoot and kill an ICE agent, because then they can be like, oh yeah, Insurrection Act. This is a violent rebellion. That's his fucking wet dream. That's what he wants to advance his authoritarian agenda, which is why it is so important that we don't give Stephen Miller a damn thing that he wants. We do not hand any victories to Stephen Miller. And folks in Minnesota have understood that. They've maintained their nonviolent discipline. They have aggressively engaged in community care, making sure that they do whatever they can to protect immigrants. Minnesotans have stood up and sacrificed so much, but they have not taken the bait. I know people don't like that phrase. I don't like it either. It's really fucking accurate. Minnesotans have not taken the bait. And so the regime continues to escalate, right? They killed Renee Good. They murdered Renee Good. They are violating the Fourth Amendment. By the way, a judge said, y'all are fucking violating the Fourth Amendment. They're continuing to escalate. And then today they murdered Alex Preddy in the street, because they want somebody to take the bait. They want a riot. They want an ICE agent murdered. And Minnesota's not doing it for them. So they're going to continue to dial it up. This is what extinction burst behavior looks like. You don't play into their hand. They don't get their way. They have a narcissistic crash out and they become increasingly violent. There is no way out of this where the state does not brutalize more Americans, where the state does not, I fear, kill more Americans. I think that we have to accept that they are obligatorily violent. They always have been, and now they are escalating because they are panicking. Because they saw yesterday the January 23rd general strike and what a huge success that was. They saw Minnesotans standing up. They saw unions coming together, all kinds of organizations coming together and pooling our collective power. Not just in Minnesota, but around the country. People were hugely supportive of yesterday's strike, financially and also standing in solidarity, marches and vigils, and just like tons of love for Minnesota. It didn't piss people off the way the regime thought it would, and people participated. And so today was an act of retaliation, right? This is when you pack your bag and you hide it in your closet, and your violent boyfriend finds it. He's like, what are you doing? Because you're getting ready to leave. And he sees the writing on the wall. He escalates dramatically, right? That's what happened today. And it feels really scary because they're trying to scare us into giving up, or they're trying to enrage us into committing a riot or killing an ICE officer. And I know it's tempting to believe that like one big violent act could stop all of this. It's tempting. It's tempting to buy in to the fantasy that there is a quick way out of this. It will get worse. It will get worse before it gets better. But just like when your ex-boyfriend was upping the threats, upping the violence, you had a moment where you could choose to stay and live like that forever, or you could choose to take the risk and get free. This is what is happening for the American people right now. We are choosing to take the risk and we are going to get free. And I look at Minnesota and I see the way that folks are responding to Alex's murder today. They are not cowering. When the regime tries to crack down, we rise up. We have to continue to bring people into the movement and build our power and start to flex those big muscles, because we are going to get free.